Opening with a somber meditation on the universe's vastness, Magellan frames humanity's enduring obsession with the search for extraterrestrial life. Despite all the progress in science and technology, things like advanced space telescopes, no clear or undeniable proof of alien life has been found yet. However, this frustrating lack of evidence has not made the scientific world give up. In fact, it has done the opposite. It has only made them more determined to continue the search. Scientists believe that if such evidence were ever found, it would change everything. It would force humanity to rewrite history, rethink its beliefs, and adjust its place in the universe. From this thoughtful introduction, the story moves forward to a future not too far from now. In this near-future world, the spacecraft Magellan is floating high above Earth, peacefully orbiting the planet.
We're uploading a revised AI plugin.
Inside the spacecraft, Commander Roger Nelson, a skilled and experienced astronaut who has spent years preparing for this mission, is busy communicating with NASA's Mission Control Center. During his conversation with the mission officers on Earth, Nelson reports a technical issue. He notices that the ship's monitors are showing some strange interference, lines of static and glitches disrupting the display screens. The officer at NASA remains calm and informs Nelson that this disturbance is normal. The interference is caused by the installation of a new, highly advanced artificial intelligence, AI system, which will serve as Nelson's assistant and help manage the ship's complex operations during the mission. Mission Control soon notifies Nelson that the spacecraft's engines will begin the gravitational acceleration maneuver in just 2 minutes. This powerful push will send Magellan hurtling toward the outer parts of the solar system. Nelson is also reminded to get ready for stasis induction. Even though he knows it's time, Nelson takes a moment to look through the small round window of the ship. The view is breathtaking and humbling.
I see you staring.
The movie then jumps back in time to about 2.5 years earlier. In this flashback, Nelson and his wife, Abigail, are having a joyful evening with their friends. They're filled with laughter, jokes, and warmth. Suddenly, Nelson's phone rings. On the other end of the call is a NASA officer informing him that he must attend an urgent mission briefing the next day. Excited beyond words, Nelson shares the news with Abigail, who is equally thrilled.
I sure hope so.
This is the moment he has been dreaming about for years. He is finally going to lead a historic mission into deep space. The following day, inside NASA headquarters, Nelson joins a classified meeting attended by key officials and project leaders. At the head of the table is Gerald Becker, the main project manager. Gerald reveals to the room some astonishing findings. NASA has picked up a strange radio signal from space. It is a low-frequency sound that repeats in perfect rhythm, unlike anything naturally occurring. Even more shocking, 2 more signals followed the first one. These later signals rise in frequency, and together they form a flawless musical chord, a major triad. This kind of harmony is not something the universe would produce by chance. Gerald tells them firmly that these signals are artificial, made by some intelligent being.
Now, essentially, yes.
Nelson is left speechless, overwhelmed by the idea that someone or something out there might be sending music into space.
That's incredible. Where are they coming from?
Driven by curiosity, Nelson asks where these signals are coming from. Gerald explains carefully. The first one comes from Titan, the second from Triton, which is Neptune's largest moon, and the third from the distant dwarf planet Aerys. To investigate these mysterious signals, NASA has developed an ambitious plan. Nelson will fly deep into space, visit these 3 sites, collect samples, and try to uncover who or what is behind these signals. At this point, Craig Stewart, the U.S. Secretary of Defense, adds a serious political layer to the mission. Even though the best launch time would normally be 8 years away, they cannot wait that long. Intelligence suggests that China has also detected these signals and is preparing their own mission.
The Chinese seem to want these things for themselves, whatever they are.
To get ahead of them, Nelson's launch must happen in just 2.5 years. Despite the added dangers, Nelson will have to spend 10 years in space, completely cut off from his family and the world he knows. After a heavy silence, Nelson bravely accepts the mission, understanding the importance and the personal sacrifices it demands.
I'm your man. Don't worry about Abigail. She'll manage.
Later that night, Nelson breaks the news to Abigail. She is heartbroken and devastated. The thought of being apart for a decade is unbearable. Though deeply hurt, Abigail agrees to support him, standing by his side through this enormous challenge. Soon the launch day came, and it's day one of the mission. As they speak, Nelson realizes that after he closes his eyes today and enters deep sleep, 18 months later, Nelson wakes up from stasis, feeling groggy but aware.
Good morning, Commander Nelson.
His AI companion, Ferdinand, quickly activates and gives him a full update on everything that happened during his long sleep. Wasting no time, Nelson starts checking all his pending emails from NASA and his loved ones. One message touches his heart, a sweet video from Abigail. In it, she smiles warmly and playfully reminds him that he still owes her a move in their ongoing chess game. A little ritual that keeps them connected despite the vast distance between them. Nelson smiles back and sends her his next move before focusing back on his mission. He then shifts his attention back to the stream of emails waiting for him. In one of them, he comes across a significant update. China has decided to postpone their mission for an entire year and instead set their sights directly on Triton, altering their original plans. Later, Nelson receives a fresh video message from Gerald, offering his congratulations on the progress Nelson has achieved so far in space. Gerald also shares that he had encouraged Abigail to personally send her regards, but she's currently facing a difficult emotional phase, battling the effects of a nervous breakdown.
She's really having a bit of a breakdown.
Though the news leaves Nelson feeling heavy-hearted, he quickly regains his focus and continues with his duties. Soon, Magellan finally achieves orbit around Saturn, and Nelson is able to narrow down the location of the signal to an area close to one of Titan's enormous methane lakes. With this new information, he boards the landing module, accompanied by another AI system called Neil, and detaches from the main ship. He lands carefully on Titan's cold, icy surface, where he begins setting up scientific equipment to collect samples from the lake. Guided by Neil, he pushes further into the strange alien landscape, determined to locate the exact source of the signal. Suddenly, Ferdinand warns him through Neil that a massive storm is approaching fast from the east. The area is also filled with dangerous methane fumes, which could explode if disturbed. Despite the threat, Nelson decides to continue his mission, refusing to leave empty-handed. His risk pays off when he finally finds the source, a mysterious glowing glass-like sphere hidden beneath the lake's surface.
I think I found it.
Carefully, he retrieves the strange object and hurries back to the lander, narrowly escaping the storm's violent winds. While waiting for the storm to pass, Nelson's curiosity gets the better of him. Against Neil's warnings, he removes his gloves and touches the alien object directly. Instantly, he is overwhelmed by a horrifying feeling, as if he is being pulled into a black hole. Terrified, he drops the sphere, and the feeling vanishes. Once the storm ends, he returns to Magellan with the object. Back on the mothership, Nelson sets course for Neptune, preparing for the next phase of his journey. He sends a report to NASA, admitting that he touched the alien device without authorization. Gerald praises him for his bravery, but also warns him never to tamper with alien artifacts again.
So please, take extreme caution not to taint the object.
But Nelson asks for permission to run more experiments, promising to record everything carefully. Meanwhile, he analyzes the methane sample and makes a historic discovery. It contains amino acids, the essential building blocks of life, suggesting that Titan may harbor life forms. At this moment, Nelson receives another heartbreaking message from Abigail. She reveals that Chinese hackers tried to access her personal files, attempting to steal classified data about the mission. As a result, Craig has warned that she may lose her access to the NASA Control Center permanently.
And from mission control, as if I'm not separated from you enough.
Abigail feels like the mission is taking everything from her privacy, her peace, and her connection to Nelson. She confesses that, even though it's only been a year and a half, it feels like she's talking to a ghost.
I feel like I'm writing letters to a dead guy.
Touched by her pain, Nelson records a comforting message, promising that he will return. The story now moves forward, skipping 32 months into the future, on day 1520. After spending all that time inside the sleep chamber, Nelson finally awakens from his long period of stasis. The pod releases a soft hiss as it opens, and the familiar voice of Ferdinand, the ship's onboard artificial intelligence system, calmly welcomes him back. Ferdinand's voice is smooth and professional, delivering a detailed status update about everything that has happened while Nelson was asleep.
There is something else, sir.
What's that?
Commander,
As he sorts through the information, One video message from Gerald grabs his attention. In the video, Gerald appears serious and concerned. He informs Nelson that the alien transmitter is still actively sending signals.
34 minutes, the signal just suddenly scrambled and began transmitting.
These signals are in the form of a complex binary code that the research team has been trying to decode without success. The team has been working tirelessly, but the message remains a mystery. In addition to this, Nelson receives another urgent email. It warns him about a possible hacking attempt inside Ferdinand's system. Deciding that it is time to confront the alien transmitter once more, Nelson prepares for direct contact. This time, he orders Ferdinand to carefully record every second of the encounter as he wishes to send it to his superiors. As he touches the strange glass orb, it immediately comes alive, glowing with an intense and eerie light. In an instant, Nelson's mind is flooded with unsettling and disturbing images. These images are abstract and confusing, stirring feelings of dread and anxiety deep inside him. It's also troubling to identify if the visions he is having are real or just mere hallucinations. Acting quickly, Ferdinand transmits the video recording of the event to the control center for immediate analysis. Meanwhile, in the vast darkness of space, the spacecraft Magellan finally arrives at Triton, one of Neptune's moons.
Orbit achieved.
Fully aware of the mission's risks, Nelson prepares the landing module, making sure every detail is correct. Just as he is about to descend, he receives another deeply upsetting message from Gerald. This time, the message contains tragic news.
We just received word that there's been an accident with the Chinese mission.
The Chinese space mission has ended in disaster. All 3 astronauts involved in that mission have lost their lives, and the mission is now declared a total failure. The news shakes Nelson to his core. His confidence wavers for a moment, but he knows he must continue. Time is running out, and he has a limited window to locate the second alien transmitter before the chance to travel to Aerys is lost. The scene shifts to Nelson, now standing on the icy, harsh surface of Triton.
I don't know, Neil.
Guided by the persistent signal, Nelson maneuvers cautiously through the harsh and unforgiving terrain, each step echoing against the vast, frozen expanse that stretches endlessly before him. After descending into the bitter cold depths, Nelson finally lays eyes upon the second transmitter. It appears identical to the first, an enigmatic, spherical object that gives no hint of its alien origin, its smooth, featureless surface reflecting the dim light of distant Neptune like a mirror. Time, however, is not on his side. The mission clock reminds him that only 9 critical minutes remain before he must return to the module and initiate the launch sequence. As he begins his careful climb back up the perilous slope, disaster strikes without warning. His boot slips on a deceptively smooth patch of ice, and in a moment of helplessness, he watches in horror as the container slides uncontrollably down the treacherous incline, disappearing into the depths below.
No!
Every second now feels like an eternity. Realizing the irreplaceable importance of the object, Nelson makes a desperate and risky choice. Against all odds, he manages to retrieve the container from the icy abyss. Once back aboard the Magellan, Nelson does not afford himself the luxury of rest. Instead, he immediately initiates the next phase of the mission. With grim determination, he plots a new trajectory toward Aerys. In the sterile confines of the ship, Nelson records a detailed video report addressed to the control center, meticulously recounting the recovery of the second transmitter and updating them on the mission's progress. Yet even amid this busyness, personal matters intrude upon his fragile composure. A private message from Abigail breaks through the isolation. In the video, she confesses the depth of her longing and fear, revealing that 4 long years have passed since his departure. She speaks candidly of her dread, worsened by the recent catastrophe that befell the Chinese astronauts.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't be talking like this.
Her words cut deep, stirring emotions that Nelson desperately tries to suppress. Forcing himself to focus, he buries those feelings beneath layers of duty, channeling his energy into the work before him. Yet the anomalies within the ice samples refuse to be ignored. Under the microscope, the impurities reveal themselves to be unlike anything previously encountered in Earth's oceans. This discovery only compounds the growing mysteries surrounding the alien artifacts and their connection to these distant worlds. The tension escalates further when Nelson receives an encrypted message from Craig, a stark reminder of the mission's increasingly fragile security. Craig informs him that, effective immediately, he is to communicate exclusively with him, cutting off all contact with civilians, including Abigail. The cold efficiency of the order stings, erecting an impassable wall between Nelson and the only tether he has left to Earth.
I want you to keep them contained and separate from you.
Craig also forbids him from interacting with the alien transmitters, citing the unpredictable and potentially hazardous nature of their behavior. Nelson, however, finds himself unable, or perhaps unwilling, to comply.
Messages to her will be relayed through us.
Ignoring the chain of command, he acts impulsively, grasping both transmitters simultaneously. He sees Abigail materialize beside him, and now they lie side by side under a vast sky dusted with alien stars, their voices mingling in quiet conversation, blurring the lines between memory, vision, and longing.
If I'm looking for meaning, the universe is a great place to start.
The story now moves to Mission Day 2079. The Magellan successfully lands on Aerys, an isolated and desolate world that orbits at the distant fringes of the solar system. Nelson embarks on another solitary EVA amid the frozen stillness that he discovers the third alien transmitter. Unlike the previous two, this device bears striking, disturbing differences. Its spherical shape remains intact, but it is now obscured beneath a viscous, mucus-like substance.
Neil? I found something.
As he makes his way back to the lander, preparing for the critical docking procedure with the Magellan, an unexpected crisis unfolds. Without warning, Ferdinand, the ship's AI, begins to speak in Chinese, an unsettling and immediate indication that the system has been compromised.
所有系统标准.
Nelson's training kicks in, and he reacts swiftly. Recognizing the signs of yet another cyber attack, he wastes no time. He orders Ferdinand to perform a complete memory wipe and initiate a full system security scan. His decisive actions narrowly avert a catastrophic failure, allowing the docking sequence to proceed safely despite the ongoing breach. The moment is a stark reminder of the persistent threats stalking him even in the farthest reaches of the solar system. In the aftermath of the incident, Nelson directs his focus back to the scientific tasks at hand. The samples collected from Aerys present new, astonishing revelations. Under the microscope, with Ferdinand's assistance, he uncovers DNA-like structures embedded within the mucus-like substance. The realization leaves him momentarily speechless. Once he recovers from the surprise, he records an excited video message for the NASA Control Center, informing them of this monumental find. 4 long hours pass, but no response comes from the control center. Growing restless and needing answers, Nelson places the 3 spherical transmitters side by side and touches them again. This time, the visions are more detailed and immersive than ever before, but his trance is suddenly broken by a deafening burst of radio signals. Ferdinand reports that millions of radio messages are flooding the ship's system. Nelson realizes the seriousness of the situation and orders Ferdinand to analyze the overwhelming data. The analysis reveals a stunning fact. The signals are coming from many different places across the galaxy, all being sent at the same time. However, it remains unclear if these messages are being sent in real time or if they are echoes from the distant past. Confused by the mystery, Nelson forms a theory. He suspects that these transmissions might have been sent by an alien species similar to humans. He also speculates that they might be using quantum entanglement to convert their messages into radio waves.
We're not alone. We just haven't been able
Eager to understand more, he commands Ferdinand to carefully examine 1,000 of these transmissions. Ferdinand discovers that the binary code inside the signals follows the same structure as DNA. In the middle of these astonishing discoveries, Ferdinand picks up another signal. This one is coming from the Oort cloud, a vast region located far beyond the edge of the solar system. Reaching the source would take 38 years of continuous space travel. At this moment, Nelson understands that there is no turning back.
Yeah. You go ahead and do that.
He then begins to record what he considers to be his final message to Abigail, telling her about his decision to travel to the Oort cloud. In the message, he apologizes for the years of waiting she has already endured and confesses that the signals are calling him and he can no longer ignore them.
But they're calling me.
And I have to answer.
As a symbolic gesture, he makes one last move on the chessboard they once shared before ending the message. With his mind made up, Nelson orders Ferdinand to plot a course toward the Oort cloud. Both NASA and the Department of Defense oppose his decision strongly. Gerald, in particular, tries to convince him to cancel the journey and return to Earth, insisting that Magellan should be redirected back to the control center.
Of the Magellan to us or begin your return journey immediately.
But Nelson refuses to back down. The movie ends as Nelson boldly names this new journey Mission Day 1, marking the start of a new chapter in his mission into the unknown, deep into the unexplored darkness of space. The film masterfully weaves mystery, sci-fi, and existential dread, creating a claustrophobic space journey where the line between reality and obsession blurs. With atmospheric direction and a brooding performance, it offers a dark, introspective exploration of the human psyche.